When it comes to WWE's hiring policy, in the words of Marvel legend Korg, the only thing that does make sense is that nothing makes sense. Which is why in 2024, WWE is going to re-sign at least one dude they fired the year before. Hello there, my very good friends. I'm Andy from What Culture, and here are 9 wrestlers WWE will sign in 2024. Number 9, Riddick Moss. He wasn't exactly being used all that well on television at the time of his departure, but Riddick Moss was still a pretty surprising WWE release in 2023, given that Paul Heyman is a noted fan and he had plenty of athletic potential. But something went wrong for Moss along the way. He became just another victim of a creative process that doesn't really scan the periphery. Often, if you aren't front and center in the writers' minds, you might as well be invisible. Bringing Moss back for another spin isn't the worst idea in the world. Riddick's talent hasn't evaporated magically overnight because he's no longer with WWE, and he has the kind of vibe that WWE types will always be impressed by. So don't be shocked if Riddick Moss makes his way back to the roster come 2024. Number 8, Elias. Speaking of people WWE binned off in 2023, Elias could well get another WWE look in 2024, if only because he'd be handy for getting involved in wacky segments again. That would be a pretty dumb reason to re-sign someone, admittedly, but WWE adores wackiness and talking head segments like Miz TV and the Grayson Waller effect and all that jazz. Elias and his sing-along music gimmick kind of fits the bill. The Drifter has already shown his chops when it comes to presenting this kind of segment. He was interrupted for years and years by other roster members and found himself commonly used to get other people over rather than himself, even though he himself got over in the process. That's not a role many people would embrace, but Elias always seemed just content to get on with things. No, Elias is never going to be a world champion in WWE, but he could at least be a handy mid-card addition in 2024. Does beg the question why you'd let someone go only to bring them back again, but hey, how many times have we seen that in the past, particularly under Triple H? Number 7, Alexander Hammerstone. This is where the list gets a little bit sexier, figuratively and literally, because want-away MLW star Alexander Hammerstone is very much cut from the WWE cloth. First of all, look at him. Second, check out some of his work and see how he carries himself. Third, on top of all of this, he's a pretty nifty worker as well, and somebody who would fit the WWE style of presentation very well indeed. At the time of recording, Hammerstone was trying to engineer an exit from MLW, who aren't really budging. Much of that company has been built around Alex over the past few years, and they want to retain him. Nonetheless, he wants out, and unless he changes his mind, he is going to leave that company at some stage. It might just take a little bit longer than he'd want. Hammerstone has come a long way since his first WWE tryout in 2015, and at 32 years old, he is beginning to enter his peak years. If he becomes available, WWE will come calling. Number 6, Matt Cardona. The former Zack Ryder has been the indie god for a while now, grabbing headlines as an interloper in GCW's hardcore world and a fun, Americanized addition to the DDT roster in Japan, amongst other things. He is the model, the benchmark for how a wrestler can rebuild their brand after being released from WWE, and he is almost certainly making more money now than he was with the Fed. Which begs the question of why exactly Matt Cardona would want to go back. If he can conduct his own business and do things his way, earning a great living in the process, what's the point? The point is that WWE will have definitely seen the waves Cardona has been making, and they're probably mightily impressed. This may tempt the market leaders to come back at Matt with a mega offer, the likes of which may be too good to turn down. Number 5, Julia. This one is a little bit complicated. Recent reporting confirms that WWE is hugely interested in Julia, to the extent that she was invited to the Performance Center in November. But she's also contracted to Bushi Road until March, so it's not like WWE could just guarantee she shows up in Florida before then. Nonetheless, it's easy to see why WWE would be interested in Julia. As well as being an excellent wrestler from bell to bell, the 29-year-old Stardom standout has more charisma in a strand of her hair than many wrestlers do in their entire bodies. She commands the screen, coming off like she's 20 feet tall, and is tailor-made to make a huge splash in American wrestling as soon as a major company gives her a run. Julia is the kind of wrestler you build entire divisions around. Of all the Joshi stars that could become available in 2024, she is the one that WWE should pursue the most, though they'll almost certainly face intense competition from that Tony Khan fella as well. Number 4, Mandy Rose. Mandy Rose might not even want to come back to WWE because, well, she's kind of a millionaire now, having prospered greatly through content creation after being let go by the company for that very reason. But as a focal point for the NXT Women's Division prior to her release, Rose appeared set for a bigger run on Raw or SmackDown before the ties were severed, which she would definitely have been better prepared for. Returning in 2024 would make a splash. There was a confidence to Rose's NXT performance and she leapt through the screen. It was really fun to watch, and she surely has some unfinished business in WWE circles. Whether the company could afford her or not is the question. Mandy's gonna do well regardless, but it would be cool to see her back. Number 3. Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu has been turning heads in MLW for years now, and yes, there are some blotches on his record, shall we say, allegedly no-showing a charity event in June 2023 for one. Oh dear. But he absolutely stands out as somebody that WWE might take a chance on. His cousins, the Usos, have surely made Triple H aware of what Fatu is up to. When his contract lapses, WWE might well pounce and bring him in. Whether he spends some time proving himself in NXT before a main roster spot opens up is anyone's guess, but his family is pro wrestling royalty, so he'll almost certainly do a good job regardless. Number 2. CM Punk. Oh boy, here we go. At the time of recording, CM Punk had yet to show back up in WWE following his AEW release. Fired from AEW with cause in September, he has been linked to a Survivor Series comeback given that it takes place in his backyard of Rosemont, Illinois. But the talk was that WWE's answer was a no for now, despite Punk wanting to return to the market leaders, which admittedly may have already happened by the time you are watching this. WWE's stance is understandable. The bitter end of his AEW run is still too fresh for a lot of people, and there's no real need for WWE to rock the apple cart backstage by bringing in someone who has a track record of fighting people. But it could still happen in 2024 if it hasn't already. WWE crowds would erupt if Cult of Personality blared over the speakers for the first time since 2014. A full decade on, Punk is still making headlines, and in my opinion, wrestling television is just better when he's on it. Personalities would clash, and it would end badly, but business is business, and WWE likes making money. CM Punk versus WWE's top names would print a lot of it. And at number 1, MJF. At the time of recording, as far as public knowledge goes, MJF's AEW contract expires in January 2024. This might not be the case. Maybe the two parties have extended it and just haven't made it public, maybe to build some drama. Time will tell, and we shall see. But losing MJF would be a nightmare for Tony Khan. Nonetheless, at some stage in his career, MJF is probably going to want to see what life is like on the other side of the American wrestling divide, and he probably isn't going to be AEW for life. Triple H will bend his ear, and so will that Cody Rhodes guy as well. MJF has defined his own environment in AEW. The character he forged on the indies and in MLW has gone mainstream to a whole new level. But he has also grown at the same time, taking advantage of the bigger platform, and it looks like he's ready to take an even bigger leap. Max himself is more than happy to tease WWE and name drop jolly old Saint Nick on AEW television, which isn't the best idea from an AEW standpoint. It kind of makes your own company feel second rate, but the bidding war of 2024 for now is very much still a thing. I've been Andy, and I'll see you later.